Good evening. I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
And we are the Scanner Guys. Good evening. Good evening to everyone. We have another edition of Ask the Scanner Guys. So we got great questions in the slideshow, and also we're going to take your questions. So fill in your questions right now in the comments, and we'll get to them live during the show. We're actually going to mix in a little bit of, some of the questions that we get on the support box over the phone, and some strange ones as well.
Yeah. So, and all the questions that we have on our slideshow, at least tonight, are stuff that has actually been asked. So some of them are weird.
Yes. Yes, some are weird. And I've been asked some of those weird questions as well. So
yeah.
So we are live this evening. Let's just do the opening and then we'll dive right into it. So let's do that right now. All right, so this is the Ask the Scanner Guys October edition. As always, we're brought to you by Scanner Master. Oops, went too far. Follow, like, and subscribe to our social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at The Scanner Guys. Also, check out our website, thescannerguyshow.com. That's thescannerguyshow.com. And while you're there, check out our blog and sign up for our newsletter and shop our store. Hats, t-shirts, and coffee mugs, hoodies, and tote bags as well. Check it out on our website, thescannerguyshow.com, thescannerguyshow.com. You can get all your swag there. We've had a lot of people purchasing the hoodies right now because it's getting a little bit cooler. So, so really good stuff there. Let's dive into it. We'll go into the first slide and then we'll look at this here. We are currently looking for some photos. We're looking for photos to be able to put together some shows that we wanted to do, but we need examples. So Rich and I are kind of looking for some photos of home-brewed antennas. I mean, we've had somebody request homebrew antennas, but we need examples to show people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all my antennas were bought, and I assume the same thing for you, right?
Yeah, I don't have anything that I constructed. I know a lot of you guys out there are pretty crafty. You've created your own antenna. The email address that's right at the bottom of the screen, thescannerguys@gmail.com. Send them photos there. Also, we had a great time doing that shack show. The last shack show was phenomenal. So if you haven't sent in your shack photos, email us. thescannerguys@gmail.com, thescannerguys@gmail.com. Send us those photos. We would love to see those. If we get enough of them, we may do another shack show. I mean, that was a lot of fun, just being able to look at mobile shacks, small, large, shacks. We saw them all.
Oh yeah, and there were a lot of great pictures on that one. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too. I really did. I mean, it was kind of fun. We just basically looked at the photos and we commentated. I mean, it was pretty simple.
Yeah. And sometimes we'll give you a little grief if we see something in there that's kind of goofy. But hey, you know what? It's all in good fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I really enjoyed it. You know what we saw? I remember we saw a lot of 536s. Wasn't that the popular radio?
Yeah, the 536s were predominant. And, I mean, you've got a bunch there. I've got two of them right here and another one out in the car. So, yeah, they're big-time radio. I think they're probably the best-selling radio out there right now.
Yeah, certainly the workhorse of Uniden. And it was priced it's priced a little less than the SDSs, so some people actually have more than one. Unfortunately, the SDS 200 still has a hefty price tag, so those are not as many in shacks.
Well, I will say one thing, though. The SDS prices have not gone up in the, 3-4 years that they've been out now.
And nor have they gone down either.
They haven't gone down, but they haven't gone up. And there's been inflation, there's the chip shortage, and the greater demand and everything like that. The other scanner prices usually, for the most part, have gone up, but the SDSs have stayed right where they're at. So that's good.
That's a very, very good thing. I'm really excited about, about that. A lot of our viewers probably are thrilled about that, because if the price goes up, for a lot of people, it's not, it's an investment by any means.
And one good thing too is they're in stock right now, and most scanners actually are in stock right now, except for the TRXs. That's really about the only thing that's out these days.
Yeah, so Dale noticed our subscriber number. It is correct. We are over 3,029. 3,029. That is great. So we actually reached that 3,000 mark, which is awesome. Let's try to get it up to 4,000 and beyond. We really appreciate everybody watching. There's a lot of check-ins tonight, but what we're doing is Ask the Scanner Guys. So throw your questions in. We'll cover that as well. Rich, I haven't had a chance to look on Radio Reference, but I did notice working on one of my radios that every time I connect up these radios, I check for firmware. Yeah. And today I was figuring current. I was figuring I was going to see current firmware. Yeah. And what did I see?
Update.
536 needed an update. So now I did it to one radio, but now I got to do it to all the other radios.
Yeah, actually, if I'm not mistaken, that is really a non-functional update to accommodate new hardware on newer versions of the radios, because they've been manufacturing that radio for 8-9 years now for the 20 for the 536 and the 436, and every once in a while they have to change a piece of hardware. And that's called a permissive change on the FCC type approval, but oftentimes that requires a minor tweak to the firmware. They did the same thing for the 325 and the 125. Not too bad. In fact, there was a big tizzy about that with the 125. So, hey, I called it.
Visual word from Joe Bearcat right there. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
But so I was really excited when I saw that there was firmware available. I figured, you're going to, you do it, you see, it's current. Do that little check. It'll ping Unit in and say, yep, current firmware. And I was surprised.
Oh, yeah. And, what I do is I usually do my database and firmware updates about once a month. I got really, if I'm really bored one night, because I got 3 536s, a 436, the 2 SDSs, and the 2 home patrols. And plus I've got, 4 or 5 spare cards to do. So I'm doing 10 or 12 radios all at the same time. But I don't do the radios. I take the cards out and use my cards reader because it's a lot easier. So I'm doing this. Boom, 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 boom. Takes me about half an hour to do all 10 radios and 5 cards, and that's
the same way I do it with a card reader as well. So it's really an awesome thing to be able to just do that, and it works really well. But yeah, I'm really excited about updating it. Let's see here. Another update from Joe Bearcat. Let's take a look at that right now. Yeah. I feel like we're going out to the field live to Joe Bearcat with another update. So let's take a look at this.
Yeah. So most models will be getting what we call maintenance updates on these. And again, there's no new features, no new tricks or anything like that. It's basically they've made some internal component changes, and the new firmware has to accommodate that. So if you've got an older radio, there's usually no problem putting the new firmware in. It's not going to do anything different than the old one did.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. It's just really awesome to be able to, that Uniden is just, they're busy over there because you're getting firmware updates. They're working on stuff, which is great.
And the nice thing about the Uniden scanners and the way they do the firmware updates is that it's really easy. The Sentinel software is really easy to use, and if you're using an SD card reader, you can update the radio that's out in the car without having to either take a laptop out to the car or bring the radio in from the car. You just pop the SD card out, bring that inside, throw it in your card reader, do all your updates on the SD card, bring it back out to the card.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally awesome. I mean, just being able to do that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you can call Scanner Master and buy it from us. We'll do it for
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people are not comfortable doing the programming, and we get a lot of
Yeah.
questions about that. I mean, there's some people that have just a tablet,
Yeah.
and that's their device of connecting to the internet, and maybe an iPad or Kindle or whatever it may be, Kindle Fire or something like that, and then that's all they have. Unfortunately, you can't really program using those
Yeah.
devices. So at least with the SD card service that's offered at Scanner Master, that allows people to be able to maybe periodically once a year get your SD card updated. With the brand new stuff. I mean, with these statewide trunk systems, there's constant changes.
Yeah, there is a lot of changes on that kind of stuff, and some stuff may not change for years, but something like that changes often. And that SD card update is, like you said, the ideal way to make those updates if you don't have a Windows computer or have access to one. If you have one, go and do it yourself, save the money. We even have videos on the product pages at scannermaster.com to show you exactly how to do that yourself for free. It takes you step by step, and you got your ugly mug on their video doing it. So it's a it's a great thing. So if you can do it yourself, save your money. If you can't, watch Jonathan's video and he'll show, and he'll walk you through it, or call us and buy the card.
That's for sure. That's awesome. Kenneth actually won and Home Patrol won on eBay. That is awesome. It must have been some sort of drawing. That's cool.
No. He won the auction, so he has to pay for it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, won the auction. Sorry, I was thinking there's a giveaway. I'm thinking positive.
Yeah, I wish it were, man. I'd be on eBay all day long.
But yeah, the Home Patrol one is still a very relevant radio. I mean, especially if you're in an area where it's just phase one digital, it's going to work fine.
And if they've already gone phase two, you can still use it for other stuff.
Yeah, and the thing with phase two, if it's still in radio reference showing D's instead of T's in the mode column, and it says phase two on the top, as long as it's D's, you'll still be able to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg asks, how often should you update the software and do the updates on your radio? We recommend you do it when you get the radio, when it's brand new, because it's going to be old and cruddy on there. And then after that, if it's working, you're probably okay. If you've got the ability to do it yourself as often as you want to, or as often as you feel you need to. If you got to pay us to do it, then do it when you need it, because you don't want to spend money if you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't blame people, just trying to be able to save some money, especially in this day and age, with everything going up price wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen the price of gas recently?
Oh yeah. It's going up quite a bit. It's. I mean, I saw it over the past weekend. The prices were all over the place. Above $3, slightly below $3. But yeah, let's take a look at our first slide here, Rich. We might as well take a look at a few of these slides, mix them in with some of the comments that people have posted. Now, this is something that some of us do get an error when they're trying to install the Sentinel software in your Windows machine. And basically, you need to install this .NET framework, and that'll allow it to work properly. And as you can see there's the link for it. Right. But yeah, you don't want to use those other versions. You want to make sure that you use the version that's listed there.
Right. There are several versions of .NET framework. There's 1 point this, 2 point that, 3 point something, 4.5, and I think even up to 6. But you need to have either 2 point something or 3.5. Either one will work fine. They are very closely related. If you have a Windows 10 computer in a later version of Windows 8, I think it's 8.1 is what they call it, you can usually use the Windows Add Remove Features control panel and add it that way. And once you've got the .NET installed on your computer, either by downloading it or by doing the Windows feature update, restart your computer and then go and install Sentinel. You got to do that restart in between. And once you've done that, you should be good.
Yeah, restarts are a huge help. When something's going awry, sometimes a restart will actually help things along. Let's go to the next slide. So we get a lot of this. People will send in their radios for repair. Bob, one of my friends that's in Massachusetts, he drives a truck around New England, and he loves his SDSs. I mean, he's been searching for frequencies, submitting them into radio reference for various businesses. I mean, it's getting posted left and right. He's building that database to be as phenomenal as possible. So if you wanted to know what the frequencies were for Ocean Spray in Middleborough, he's found them and he's posted them, which is great. A key thing when you do send your radio in, please for repairs, let them know, no matter what the repair is, that you have DMR, Pro Voice, or NextEdge already installed on the radio. Let's say they have to do something to the radio, or they have to replace the radio. You want to make sure you get those updates put back on that radio, because you paid for those updates.
Yeah. And what I recommend when I've done is I take a Post-it note and I put it on the radio, and then I tape it on there so that it doesn't fall off. And I'll just write on there DMR NXDN Pro Voice installed. And that way the guys in the repair depot will see that, and they will, number one, if they have to replace the radio, they will either put the old serial number back in and reinstall the update, or at least be aware of it. And if they send a new radio, they can change the serial number at the depot. Otherwise, they will go ahead, if they're going to keep the old serial number on the new radio, they will then get the updates on there. So you want to get back what you paid for, and that's a way to do it. Every once in a while, they slip up or you forget it. And if you bought the scanner from us, and if we did the update, we can probably grab the keys back for you. And if not, we can probably help you get the keys back from Uniden.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of great things out there, but when you do send it in for repair, just let them know. I mean, the good thing about it is, at least, like you said, Rich, they're aware of it. So if they end up doing something that changes or alters the radio and removes these updates, they know, okay, we need to address that, or we need to just make sure that that update is still on the radio.
Right. Now, like Dale just mentioned, if you do the database or the feature updates yourself, you've already gone to the Microsoft Uniden website and registered your radio and purchased your keys. You can download your key numbers again if for some reason you get the radio back and the DMR is gone.
Yeah, so, just as long as that the serial number hasn't changed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and if the serial number is changed, that key will not work. And another thing to remember is, when you buy a key for one radio, it only works for that radio and no other radio, and there's no way to transfer that key to a new radio.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let me just make sure I didn't break my phone.
So that's those keys are very, like I say, they're very unique to the radio, and they will not allow you to reuse them for another one.
My phone's fine.
Okay, good. Oh man, I was so worried about that. All you need right now is to break your phone.
No, I don't want to do that. That's for sure. Anyway, let's. Did we get anything that came in?
Not specifically about that.
Here's something here. Robert is asking about my old 396T receives P25, but it won't do phase 2.
No.
That radio is still a really great radio. I mean, it has the dynamic allocated memory system in it. So it's got that memory structure that, we've gotten familiar with the 15X and the 996 and so on. But yeah, I mean, if you're in an area where it's just P25 phase 1, you're good. But if...
yeah, and what he's doing, he might have a phase 2 capable system, which means that the system is capable of phase 2, but a lot of the channels may still be operating in phase 1 mode, which is very common. The system where I'm at, the regional system where I'm at, is a phase 2 capable system, but everybody's operating in phase one. So those older phase one scanners will still work.
Yeah, so that's totally. Let's see what else is here. I just want to see what we can look.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris is mentioning some Starcom updates. I'm sure that system is daily. Like I think we talked about that last week. You know, it's rare to see Illinois not being the gray color.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always yellow or green. First off, there's several very active administrators for the database. Terry is one of our viewers, and he is really active, and he finds a lot of stuff on his own. We have a lot of people who make submissions. So for the Starcom system in Illinois, that is operating in phase two in the metro areas, Chicago and the Metro East area down by St. Louis. Very common, and it is going to be spreading out to some of the other sites as more and more users get on board. But unless you're in one of those big metro areas, you're okay with the phase one scanner for now.
Yeah, that's for sure. But let's see here. I'm just trying to look at some of the other questions and comments. Yes, microphone is, it's being readjusted over here a little bit since I'm in a new studio. So, so I'm adjusting as we go. So hopefully it's getting a little bit better. I mean, it was quite hot when we were in the pre-show.
Yes, I blew out Jonathan's eardrums during our audio test this morning or this afternoon.
Yeah. But yeah, this is going to be exciting here. What were we looking at?
And Dale's comment, the last one there. If you're operating in phase two mode and the system is not locked out, and a phase one radio happens to join in that particular conversation or affiliates with that talk group, that conversation will revert to phase one on that particular tower. So if you're on tower number 17 and everybody's on that with phase two, it'll be a phase two conversation until a phase one radio pops up on that tower affiliated to that talk group. And then the whole conversation on that tower will revert to phase one. Any other towers will stay as they are, but that one will revert to phase one. So it gets a little confusing.
So is that the trick to keep everybody at phase one?
Yeah. Just keep a radio affiliated. Some systems are locked into phase two. That means that all activity is phase two all the time. But those are relatively rare now, but they are going to be more and more common as you go.
That's for sure. I mean, not Dale, but Joe Bearcat mentioned this, and this is great tidbit of information for those of you out there. Database updates are available for both the 100 and 200, usually every Monday, and then that goes for your 396. Not 396. Your
436,
436, and 536, and Home Patrol 1 and 2. So any of your database unit and scanners, I mean, the great thing about it, you don't have to update it every Monday, but at least you know that it's being updated. And then, like Rich said, you get some extra time kicking around, hook it up, update the database, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as far as the database updates, they are almost every week, usually done sometime late Sunday, early Monday. Every once in a while, there might be a glitch, and they'll skip a week. It's not a big deal. The radio reference boards will blow up. Oh, my God, United's closing. They didn't do an update this week. And then Tuesday morning, it pops up. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So, and the 125 has not yet been discontinued.
Yeah, the 125, one of our favorite radios, has not been discontinued. And actually, the 125 is right there.
Mine is actually out in the car right now. So
so my 125 is right there, and then my STS 100 is right there, and my classic 780 is right there.
Oh yeah. Boy, I love that 780. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I figured I'd put that on display since it's one of my favorite radios. I remember when that came out, it was like $500.
Yeah. All righty. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, sure. Well, Watson's in the background he's sneezing away. I'm not too sure what's going on, but he's sneezing away. All right. I live or travel in Canada. When I enter my postal code into a unit and scanner, only allows me to use 3 of the 6 digits.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So for our Canadian friends who already understand this, but for our American friends that don't understand the Canadian postal codes, very similar to zip codes. So portion of the zip code tells you what region, portion tells you what location, and it gets, the further down you get into it, the closer you get to the individual locations. God bless you, Watson. The first 3 characters are kind of are called the forward sorting area, and that's the first half of the postal code in Canada. So when you look at the postal code, you're going to see 3 characters separated by a space and 3 characters. The first 3 are the only one that Uniden uses, and that's called the forward sorting area, and that's usually at a they really don't have counties and towns like we have here in the U.S. It's a little bit different for the most part, but it's kind of an area, roughly a county size area relative to what the U.S. is. So it's a little bit more general than it is in the U.S., where the zip codes in the U.S. are a little more specific, but that forward sorting area is a little bit larger area, but that's as good as they're going to be able to get with Canada and keep it reasonable. So that's why you're only going to see 3 characters, and that's normal.
All right. Somebody asks, why am I not using it? I use it every time I leave to go rail fanning. I put it there so I know where it is.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure when I go, the thing I grab when I go rail fanning is I grab my 125 AT, which is now right there. And I also grab my camera bag, and that's my go-tos. I just grab it right there. I just put it back there on the shelf. 1, so you can see some scanners in the background, and 2, so I know where it is.
Yeah. Well, I had 3 or 4 780s at one point, and I eventually traded them to get new scanners, or sold them or something to get new scanners. And I wish I still had them. They are just and they're great for military aircraft, and they work very well for that. But now I've got 15s, and they do everything that 780 did.
Joe remembers when the SDS debacle live on the show. Yes, I know where it is. It's right there. Yeah. So I know where it is. Thankfully.
The look of panic on your face during that live show was just, you were like, oh my God, my SDS is gone, and I don't know where it's at, and you were cringing.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of money. I mean, for a radio, to replace it and so on. My 200 is right in front of me on the desk, so I have that right in front of me. But this is a good question coming up. We should show this one, Rich. This is really a thing that we periodically get a lot of questions on it. I programmed several favorites lists. I'm not hearing anything.
Yep.
Now, a lot of times, you may program things in that are not by default on for a service type.
Mm-hmm.
Railroads is one of those. So if you get the scanner from the factory and you don't go in there and turn on railroads as a service type, when you create your favorites list for railroads and railroads alone, it's going to give you a nothing to scan type of thing. So make sure if you're doing some of the non-typical, like you're listening to interops or, things that are not on default, go in to service types in the menu and make sure those are on, because you're not going to hear a darn thing if you don't turn them on.
Well, that's true. And when you're creating your own favorites list, unless you go into every channel or talk group in your favorites list and edit the service type to what it should be. So if you're putting police channels in there, and if you don't change it to law, it's going to default to, I think it's custom 1 is what it defaults to. And we get that a lot. I spent hours putting together this favorites list, and it doesn't work, and I'm tearing my hair out. Of course, I don't have any hair to tear out, but And then, so I tell them, go in and check the service type custom one. And if that one is available in your set service types, turn that on and see if they don't come back. And 5 minutes later, they call me back. It works. It works. They're happy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, that can be a thing there.
Yeah.
Location control, and also, if your GPS is not working right in the vehicle, let's say for whatever reason you travel, somewhere, the cables get disconnected a little bit for the GPS, and you don't realize it.
Yeah, that's why if you on your scanner, make sure you see the GPS icon to make sure you're getting GPS.
Yeah, it's definitely a key thing.
And Joe mentioned too, quick keys. That's one I forgot to put in the text.
Yes, also quick keys are not enabled is another common cause. Thank you, Joe M. We really appreciate that. Both you, our Joes are all super knowledgeable.
Oh yeah.
Joes, and there's so many riches in this hobby as well.
Yeah, Joe's, Rich's, and Chris's are
the common name of a lot of our scanner enthusiasts.
Yep. So Joe number 1 said this, and Joe number 3 said that. So, and the other thing to remember too is the third most common thing are the sites. So if you are programming a trunking system, half the people that call up and say they're not hearing anything, they forgot to program in the sites. They're so busy. Oh, wait, I want to listen to police. I want to listen to fire. I want to listen to the highway, the highway patrol, and they put all that stuff in there. Wow, this is cool. I'm done. Listen to it. Nothing to scan. I'm like, yeah. And which sites did you put in? Sites?
Yeah, sites are definitely a key thing.
So yeah, make sure you check the service types, your location control, quick keys, and sites. Those are the 4 biggies.
Yeah, the big 4. So definitely check those. Let's take a look again at the comments, see what's pouring in this evening.
Let's see. A question Danny asks, when are we going to talk about Whistler scanners?
Well, we can talk about Whistler scanners, but the thing is, they don't have anything new out. I really wish they had something new out. I mean, basically they've taken the classic radios that Whistler had. The PSR 500, 600 are basically the current state with the was it the 1065 and the 1040.
Yeah,
and that's that's a great radio. I mean, for somebody that's doing a lot of manual programming, the menu kind of drills down. It's kind of like filling in the blanks, which is good. But the thing is to be careful when you're manually programming that radio. Don't leave out a scan list or any key options, because what it'll do is it'll work for a while, and then when you go to reboot the radio, it'll do a heap error. As for TRX and 1 and 2, it's a database scanner, but the thing I think where Uniden wins is with the database scanners, they have the GPS. So when you're mobile, it's a win-win to be able to have that GPS capability with a database type of scanner.
Yeah, and the whole Uniden versus Whistler location-based scanning, I think Uniden really handles it much better, because with the Uniden, when you put in a location, be it a zip code or GPS location, that's like a center point on a map. And then you're setting a range. That's how big a circle gets drawn around that center point. It makes it really easy to set locations. You set it to where you are, you set it to how far away you want to listen. It's really simple. When you do that with the TRX, when you set a zip code in there, you can't do it with GPS, but you set a zip code, it figures out what county that zip code is probably in, and then loads up that entire county. Yeah, some people like that, but it doesn't get quite as specific as the Uniden. So, and going to the original question, yeah, we're going to put that on our topic list. It's just not that much that many requests that we have for Whistler versus Uniden. The installed base is quite a bit larger on the Uniden.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
model selection is much larger. You know, it's like General Motors versus Peugeot.
Yeah, I mean, there's more makes and models. This is a really good question. If you're running one of these radios, and the range, you know, if the GPS is set to 10 miles and you're getting a P25 towers beyond that reception range. So with radio reference, the way it's set up in the background, we can't see it, but the database administrators can. So we given an example when we've done our GPS shows. So imagine the map of the United States, and you put radiuses around each city and town. Some of them are going to be larger, some of them are going to be smaller. But what's going to happen is all these circles are going to overlap with one another. You're going to, because let's put it this way: most cities or towns are not circles. They can be long, they can be tall, they can be, and it's going to vary. I mean, you could have a weird shaped town where there's a big plop over here and then it kind of fans out over in this section. And you've got to create a large radius in order to cover that community. So what ends up happening is when you put in a zip code based scanner and you put in a range, yes, that, like the small little town may have a 5-mile radius, but a big city like Charlotte, North Carolina could have a huge circle in order to accommodate it. And then, the thing is, it's going to do a center point, and then maybe some of the city goes, doesn't go quite down in this part of the circle. So, you got these communities here, and you're still picking up Charlotte. It's because of that. It's just how the database is. The other thing, too, as for P25 towers, a lot of these frequencies on radio reference could be conjunct together. Let's say they're set up together for Rowan County. Everything for Rowan County is all together on one list. That means if you see them all piled together, that means they share the same latitude, the same longitude, and the same radius in the background. So no matter where they are in the county, you're going to be able to pick it up, on the scanner, as long as you're within range of the tower that's appropriate for that particular location.
Yeah. So, and the way it works is, that circle, if it touches or crosses your circle, it's going to be in there. So if you're running in a car, most people will want to set that range really small, like either 0 miles or maybe like 1 mile, so that you concentrate more on your local stuff. And as Hando mentioned at 38 After, the location-based scanning really only works well in the U.S. and Canada. It does not work elsewhere. You can use location control in your favorites lists as well. So if you're in Australia or in Europe or something like that, you can set up location control there, and then you're going to have to use a GPS or some other method, because obviously they don't have zip codes or postal codes that the scanner is going to recognize.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is you can do this custom programming completely yourself. As long as you have latitude, longitude, and center points, you can do all that yourself. I mean, I remember when I had the 996 back in the day, I did a lot of custom programming with latitude, longitude, and such, to be able to get it so it works perfectly. I mean, I was adding in weird things too, like shopping malls. I had the security frequency of a shopping mall, so I had a 1 mile radius around that address. So as soon as I came into there, I would hear the mall security. And that's, all types of cool things that you can do. We typically recommend here at Scanner Master to take a look at the Butel software. That's going to give you the ability to be able to do a lot with customizing programming quite a bit. And that's on a wide range of the Uniden scanners, right from the SDSs all the way down to 996s and 15s and all those, even the 125 AT has got software as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty, you want to move on?
Yeah, sure. So let me pull this. Hold on, I don't remember where that comment was. So I had to pull that off. Let's see. Go here and number 10.
All righty. So my 436 or 536 or that should be HP, Home Patrol, or SDS, it's stuck at the boot screen, or it says SD card error. So if you have an SD card error, you're going to have to reformat and or reprogram your SD card. You can buy one from us, or you can do it yourself with the Sentinel software. It's not that hard to do. It's just like making a spare card, except it's your regular card. You format the card first in Windows, and then you open it in Sentinel, and you go into the scanner menu and select Clear User Data. And then when you get that little pop-up window, you're going to see an option there that says View All Drives. Click on that. You should see your new formatted drive. And then you hit OK, and that writes the necessary files to that SD card that makes not only Sentinel, but your scanner understand that that card is for that radio.
Really awesome stuff right there. Just being able to know all that, to be able to do that. But yeah, those SD card errors, you definitely want to be careful of those and be mindful. And then, of course, like you've always said, having an extra SD card, especially in the vehicle. You could be on a road trip and something could happen. You get an error while you're driving, and then you're like, oh crap, especially like Dale, without satellite. I think he's got satellite radio. There's not much for broadcast radio in a state like he's in. So a lot of times, satellite radio or your scanner is your entertainment. And and then if there's an SD card or there goes your entertainment, it's going to be a long ride.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, lonely ride. And Bob Hunt also mentioned a great catch on that. When you reformat the SD card, if you have to, do it in FAT32 and not NTSF. So or NTFS is, I think, what it actually is. So it should be FAT32. That is the basic format that a SD card has to be in to be recognized on one of the Uniden scanners.
FAT32. Is that what are they trying to tell us something?
How about FAT60? Yeah. So yeah, it's that is the format, the proper. So when you get that, you make sure you select FAT32. I should have put that in a slide. I forgot. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a really good stuff. We appreciate that, because a lot of people are going to see that and they're going to wonder, what do I do at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Got a question from Alta Curie or Altiricu. He asks if he can listen to DMR on his SDS 100. Sure, if you have the DMR update.
Yeah, you have to have that DMR update. That is a key thing to be able to do that.
And the same thing, NXDN, there's an NXDN update and a Pro Voice update. Those are extra cost options, which we spoke about earlier in the show.
Definitely. Let's continue on here. And let's look at this slide here. I have an older scanner. Can I upgrade it to digital? Yes, you just get an HD box and slap it on inside of it and you're good to go. No, it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, analog scanners cannot be upgraded to digital. They have to have the proper hardware. So it's not a firmware update that'll magically make it digital. It has to be a hardware edition. Remember, the most important thing is that a digital scanner will work on analog. So don't think, I bought this digital scanner. Now I'm not going to be able to hear analog. You'll be able to hear both digital and analog on a digital scanner.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a question we get almost every day.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're in the market for a new scanner, you may, even though that your area may be still using analog, you may want to look at a digital scanner, so at least you're prepared for the future. So that's definitely a key thing. So we've got questions about batteries, and lights, and all that fangle stuff. And what happens? The red light is on. Oh, the red light is on my 436 SDS 100 and Home Patrol 2, and it's flashing when I plug it in. Ooh. What is this about, Rich?
Oh, flashing. Oh, that type of flash. I thought you wanted to like.
No, flashing like that.
No, believe me, you don't want to see that. Flashing, when you have a flashing red light on your scanner, that means there's some icky bad stuff going on. The battery is bad, the charger is bad, or the cable that connects the two of them is bad. One of those things is happening. Now, the thing is with the home patrols and the 436, you got 4 or 3 AA batteries. It could be any one or all of those batteries. If you're getting that flashing light on your SDS 100, then that's a lithium polymer battery. That's a different thing. There are a couple things you can try to get past a battery error. The first thing I recommend is to turn the radio on, disconnect the power cord from it, but turn the radio on and let that battery die all the way. Obviously, you want to turn off your replay option so that you don't corrupt your memory card, but let the battery die all the way down, and then start a recharge battery and see if that makes the battery recover. If it doesn't, it might be time to get a new battery. If you've got AA batteries, you have to figure out which one is bad, or just replace all 4 of them at the same time. If you have a red light flashing on your 536 or your SDS 200, you got bigger problems, and that's totally unrelated to batteries because there ain't no battery.
Yeah, very good stuff with all that, with batteries. But yeah, periodically, if you're using rechargeable batteries all the time, there's going to come to a point where you need to replace the batteries because they're only going to be able to withstand so many charges, and then it's going to deteriorate and keep deteriorating. Yeah. And then the other thing too is if you're using rechargeable batteries, invest in a backup set. You may be out all day, and especially for rail fans, you may spend a couple hours trackside, and you've got a heritage unit coming through, so you spend a little bit longer there, and then your scanner batteries die, and then you're in the dark. You don't know when that detector is going to go off, or you're not going to be able to hear the dispatcher when they say, all right, we're going to have you tie it down at such and such.
Right.
And then you're going to be standing there wondering, whoa, because you didn't hear that they're tying it down at such and such. And you'll be wondering, well, it should be here by now.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you want a spare SD card, you definitely want a spare set of batteries. And the replacement battery with the charger is now available at scannermaster.com.
With the 120, the SDS 100.
For the SDS 100, yeah, it's called the EBC 100. The battery, it comes with the battery and the charger. Unfortunately, the battery itself is not currently available, but the battery with charger is. And we also have the small battery and small battery door, which we're the only place you can get that.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's dive into Windows 10. And USB cables. This is quite a problem that we've been seeing when this actually occurred. So there, like if you had a USB 1, an older USB 1 that you bought way years and years ago prior to Windows 10, there's a chipset change that really caused some issues. Actually, the chipset didn't cause any issues. It's just the chipset wouldn't work with the older cables. Right. So Uniden had to update the chipset so it would work with Windows 10. So you may want to, if you haven't already and you purchased a newer cable, make sure you mark it. Because, if you go grabbing for that cable and it's the older version of the cable, it's not going to work.
Yeah, so the new cables work fine in both older versions of Windows and the newer version of Windows, at 64-bit version of Windows. The older cables will only work in the older version of Windows. So the problem is there's no way to tell the old one from the new one from the outside of the cable. So there is a little utility packet program that comes with the driver set for the USB 1, and it will tell you whether that cable is the old one or the new one. But if you plug into Windows 10 and you don't get a COM port assignment, you can look in the device manager, and often the device manager will just come right out and say, hey, this is an old cable, it won't work. And if you get that, just go out and buy a new cable. You can use the regular serial cable that came with the radio and get one of those USB to serial adapters. Or find an old computer running Windows 7 or XP.
That's definitely a key thing with it. Just being able to run, an older computer. I mean, a lot of people do have older computers that are Mac users.
Yeah.
And that may be the case, for me, I'm running strictly Mac here. So I have an older Windows machine, and I just keep that around because, it's easier to program those scanners with a Windows machine because it's what's available. I mean, there's other options. We did a whole show about programming with a Mac, using Parallels and all this other software. You have to do a little bit of work in order to be able to make it so it will work. But keep it.
Nowadays, Mac is all 64-bit and has been for much longer than Windows has. So yeah, there's we can spend a whole show on 64-bit versus 32-bit.
So let's we got some questions coming in. Let's take a look at this question here, Rich.
So on service types, can you name a custom type to unique name? No, as far as I know, you cannot change custom 1 to building and bridges or something like that. There's no way to rename that. So it's going to be custom 1 or custom 2 up through custom 8. So yeah, there's no way to rename those.
Yeah, and the other thing too, it's based on, other than the custom ones, everything else is based on how it's categorized on Radio Reference. It's all tied in there. If you look at Radio Reference and you look over to the way over to the right, you'll see by each talk group the service type.
Yeah, I think they call it tag on the in the database. But yeah, unfortunately, you can change the service type on the channel, but it has to be one of the service types that come in the drop down, which will be law dispatch, law TAC, railroad, what have you, or custom 1 through 8.
Yeah. So definitely keep that in mind. Let's see. There was another one here that I wanted to grab before. Yes, here it is. Arthur with curious about antenna placement on a roof. He has a dual band ham radio antenna, and he has a newer disc cone antenna. Just wondering the distance in between the two to avoid interference. I'm sure Dale Osborne probably has a mathematical thing, how far apart, if Dale's watching. Rich, what's your thoughts? And we'll see if Dale chimes in with his thoughts on distance.
As far as possible is the proper correct answer. So keep them as far apart as possible. Sometimes it's not practical to separate them by a correct amount, but if they're too close, and especially if you got a multi-coupler connected into your scanner antenna system, you can cause damage to your scanner from a transmitter. I had a guy call me just today. He's an over-the-road truck driver, and he's got a CB with the kicker, is what they call it, I guess. That was a big high power. He said it was 250 watts of RF power on his CB radio. And he wanted to put the scanner antenna on the same mirror as his CB antenna. I said, no.
Yeah, it's not that right. And the same thing, with cars. If you've got multiple things in the car, even multiple scanner antennas, you want to make sure that you keep them separated, a good distance as well. I mean, Rich, you worked in law enforcement. You basically probably spent a little bit of time looking at, when you got a new vehicle, where are we going to place all these antennas? I mean, there's so much technology in the vehicle. We have
9 antennas on our squad cars.
Yeah. So
here, the one that didn't have the vehicle locating system. So that's put 4 more on the roof. Between the 3 radios, the scanner, the wireless microphone, the cellular antenna for data, the 2 GPS receivers, and all the rest is stuff that goes in there. It looks like a porcupine. And then we had there's the 4 VHF antennas for the stolen vehicle locating system, which I cannot remember the name. I'm sure
LoJack.
LoJack. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. LoJack. And we had one of those, and then there's 4 antennas on the roof. So now I can't put any other antennas on the roof. And it was, it was hard. one thing that saved us is we found a manufacturer of a single mounted enclosure that had several of the antennas that we already needed in that enclosure. So we basically drilled one 1-inch hole on the trunk and ran the cable through there and the mounting stuff. And it had like 2 cellular antennas, a GPS receiver, a UHF antenna, a VHF antenna, and there was one other one on there. I can't remember what it was, all in one radome, which was really cool.
Since we're talking about discounts, I don't know off the top of my head what the difference is in between the two of these.
Yes, I do. It's the connector on the radio, on the antenna. The D130NJ has got an N connector. The D130J has got an SO239.
And of what we've learned in past shows, the N connector is far superior.
Yes. Yeah, the N connector is a much better connector. It's more weather resistant. It's more impedance correct. And it's a more durable connector. You just have to be careful inserting it on and taking it off. But once you have it on there, it is a superior connector.
All right. And let's see here. So the discovery feature, I've learned about the discovery feature, the function on my STS 200. It's great for finding talk groups within a system, but how do you search for new systems within your area? Very good question.
You can use the discovery feature to, go through an existing system, but the best thing to do is just set up a limit search. Go to start at 851 and go to 861 or something like that, and just start scanning through there. And every time it stops, figure out what that. And if it stops on a data channel, you'll be able to see what the system ID is, and you can look that up in the radio reference database, or you can look up the frequency in the database and find out who the user is. And every once in a while, you'll come across something new. And if you find something that's not in the database, you can do some research on the SEC database or other sources. And if you figure out who it is, make sure you let the radio reference people know so they can put it into the database so you can share the knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. Sharing the knowledge will certainly make the database better. Let's dive into another slide. I'll post that up right now.
Okay. So on the STS, we were talking about the batteries earlier. Can you leave the charger connected after the green light comes on and the battery's fully charged? Yeah, sure can. What'll happen on the SDS 100, it's a smart charging system. It will stop the full charging current after the radio is fully charged and the light goes green, and it'll switch to what's called a maintenance charge or a trickle charge. And it's just enough juice going into the battery to keep it fully charged. But you can, and the nice thing about the SDS 100 is there's a setting in the battery's control panel that allows you to power the radio while you're charging the radio. It's actually charging the battery while you're listening to the radio, while the radio is on. The others, the 436, you can't do that, nor the 325. But in the SDS 100, you can.
Which is totally cool and awesome. Dale actually asked me a question about the antenna that's behind me, which is this antenna here. I actually have a couple of them. This is an 800 megahertz omnidirectional antenna. Works great. So right now I'm not, I don't have an antenna outside of the house. So I ended up putting this antenna right here by the window. With 800 megahertz digital trunking, you really don't have to work terribly hard. Yeah. Unless it's a simulcast thing, and then you can put the antenna in the basement and address that. Always not the
close
best.
enough you can hear it in your fillings.
Yes. So Rich and I were talking earlier today over the phone, and what did you say the tower that I was near was like a
1.67 miles?
Yeah. So I have no issues. It's full bars all the way. So what I ended up doing is I put this antenna right here. We actually sold this antenna. I was so disappointed. I forgot who manufactured this antenna. So we found this at Scanner Master and we started selling this antenna. It worked really, really well. Yeah. And then they stopped manufacturing it. I was like,
That was too bad, and that was a great antenna. We never had anybody return one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it works great, and it's a great omnidirectional antenna. We actually made, I can't pull it, but what you can do is it comes with this U bracket, and what you can do, which I can't pull that antenna out right now, but you get a little piece of PVC, side mount it to that, and then put a little block of 2x4, and then you can make this a desk stand radio,
antenna,
just like the way it is right there, and it works great. I really can't say enough about this. I've snagged a couple of these, knowing that that we were no longer going to be able to carry it, and I just was very impressed with this antenna, and it works well with trunking systems. It's 800 megahertz. It works great on 800 and 700 megahertz. I'm quite happy with it, that's for sure.
Cool.
Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Here's an 800 megahertz right here. So, Rich, let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, so he's got an 800 megahertz 6-element Yagi antenna, but he doesn't use it since he doesn't have anything in his area. The neat thing about a Yagi is that they are very directional. You point it this way, you're going to hear stuff that direction. You aren't going to hear anything much at all, if anything, in any other direction than that. And the more elements you have on your antenna, the more precise that line is going to be. So if you have a 3-element Yagi, your pattern is going to go out like this. You have a 6-element, it's going to go much narrower, and your width of reception is going to be much narrower the bigger your antenna gets. If you have the ability to put a Yagi on a rotator, then you can pinpoint the location or the bearing of that transmitter to your, relative to your location by using a rotator. And that's a lot of fun. I had a buddy of mine who had a beam antenna on his radio, and we use that a lot to pinpoint transmitters.
Yeah, that on here is a end connector, Joe. So it's an end connector on here, and it, what I end up doing is I put on an N to B and C, just an adapter for the house setting, and it works great.
Ron had a question a little bit earlier. He said that at 13 after, ever wonder why a scanner has the 950 to 1200 meg range in them? Said outside of a couple ham stuff, there's really not much there. That's a good question, Ron. There have been proposals up and down the board for years to put other operations in those frequency ranges, but a lot of that stuff now is used for stuff that you're not going to be able to hear on a scanner. But the other thing too is that since they wanted to cover that little slice of the ham band at 1300, or was it 1296? And it was probably just as easy for them to have the entire range from 950 to 1300 versus saying just a little bit of, having some range in that. It's one less set of programming options on the ROM when you just have it cover the entire range, even if there's nothing there.
It is a little bit past the top of the hour, so because we're filtering in, the questions, we're going to continue on with the slideshow presentation as well as doing your questions until the bottom of this hour. So stick with us as we continue on. We still got some more slides to cover. Rich, let's take a look at this one. Will a preamp help with your reception? Yes. Preamps work best for rural areas when mounted at the antenna. In urban areas, they tend to increase the noise floor, and they cause issues. Like in New York City, you don't want to use a preamp. It's already dirty noise floor as it is. It's just going to make it even more dirtier, with a preamp. But yeah, rural areas, I agree. That's certainly a huge help. You don't have that noise floor that you would have in an urban area.
Yeah, they help where I'm at because I live about 75 miles from nowhere. The only problem I have is that there is a mountain a few miles away from here that has a bunch of towers up there, and occasionally I get some noise. But a preamp helps me here. But when I drive into town, forget it.
All right, let's take a look at the next one. Will Pro Voice upgrade make my radio hear encrypted channels? No. No, a
We
lot
get
of people
that
think
question
Pro
every
Voice,
week.
like, so Pro Voice is the magic fix it all, for encryption. No, it will not do that.
Ain't going to happen. And if it's encrypted, you're not going to be able to hear it no matter what you do.
Oh, God.
Believe it or not, this is a real question that we have gotten more than once.
Oh, I've gotten
different
it too.
people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, can I listen to the aliens talking in space? I know they're out there and they're planning something.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gotten this question at least a couple of times in the last couple of years. And my normal answer to that would be, yeah, the SDS 500 will allow you to do so, but you have to buy that optional Space Alien update. If you don't get the Space Alien update or the SAU, it ain't going to work.
Yes, you definitely need that Space Alien update. They're using a different digital decoding as well.
Yes, absolutely. So make sure you got to get the SDS 500 when it comes out and get the SAU, and then you'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll pick up all that and then some.
You betcha.
When programming my trunking scanner, do I need to include all the channels in the trunk system or just the control channels? Well, on the old radios, you had to include all the frequencies. On the newer radios, you just need the control. You need the control channel and the alternates. And those are usually listed on radio reference as red or blue. If you think you may have missed one of those control channels, there's no reason why you can't put them all in. I mean, especially when you're importing it in, you can just just send it on in.
Yeah, you can put them all in there if you want to, but if you're, if you want to save that couple bits of memory space, which really is not a big a deal, or you're typing it in, you really only need, to tell you the truth, you only need the active control channel to make it work right now. If you're programming in something, if you're out in the field and you're programming in something by hand, you just want to throw that system in there real quick, just the active control channel is the only one you need right now. And then you can go back and add the rest of them later in case the control channel changes. So that's a good way to tell the difference between a Motorola built and a Harris built P25 system. On a Motorola built system, you're going to have 2, 3, or 4 control channels, one control channel and 1, 2, or 3 alternates. On a Harris built system, all the channels can and usually are available to be used as control channels.
Now, this is a good question here from Robert, asking about looking for a good rubber duck antenna for the airband. Typically, we try to carry the 901, which is made by Watson, but it's not always available. But
when did your dog start making antennas?
No, it's Watson over in the UK.
Oh, okay.
But we found a company called Smiley Antennas. Now, I haven't tried any of their aviation antennas, but there's a whole slew of them, Rich. We looked at the website. We don't carry them at Scanner Master, but if you're looking for an aviation antenna, Smiley Antennas may be a route to go and maybe a good thing to try. The great thing about it is their antennas, you can get it in like it's one antenna and then it attaches on the connector. So if you have an SMA or a BNC, you can get it in that style. Or if you're using 2 different scanners, you order the antenna with a BNC and then you order the little adapter with the SMA, and then you got the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
So let's see here. We'll continue on. I think there's let's put this up on the screen. Here we go.
Okay. So my department just recently switched from an analog channel to analog system to a digital on the same channel, same frequency. Now he can't hear me, even though I've got a digital scanner. So if they change from analog to digital, you're going to have to reprogram your scanner probably, even if it is capable of doing the digital. if they're analog before, it may have a PL tone programmed into it. And if that's the case, you're not going to hear any digital. And depending on the way your scanner is programmed, it might be programmed to listen to analog only. So reprogram the channel so that you can either be what they call open, which means you can hear it in any mode, or put the proper digital mode in there. And if you've got like a 536 or an SDS, you can use the quick search by pressing the channel button, type in the frequency, and then press the channel button again. And then that will allow you to hear any activity on that channel or that frequency, no matter what mode they're in.
Oh, I love this comment. If you're ever looking for an antenna, just look for Rich's coffee cup. They're all there.
Yeah.
I saw that. Ron, you're clearly watching all the Scanner Guys shows, and you're paying attention because that's where all of Rich's antennas are. So if you're on the lookout, look for that. And David is jumping on the bandwagon with the SDS 500.
Yeah.
So there's, that'll probably be on a radio reference tomorrow about rumor mill about the SDS 500.
Yeah, and then universal translator, if it's not working, you just gotta go like that. And if anybody knows that reference, put it in the comment.
Yeah, you live out in Arizona where it's sunny and beautiful, and you have the palest legs.
I have the widest legs. That's because we don't go out in daytime in Arizona because we would fry like a tomato.
So when you're outside, are you using SPF 1000?
There are people who walk around with umbrellas in the sunshine out here because it's so intense.
Yeah, see, so, I got tan going on here.
Yeah, I got some little tan going on there.
Yeah, little color.
Yeah, I don't really wear a watch that often, but you can see a little bit of a farmer's tan there.
Yeah, good old farmer's tan doesn't it's not a bad thing.
Yep, absolutely. So
unless you're behind that showing.
There's been some response to this, but I need a better response than that. There's a more specific. There's more specific to that. So if somebody gets that reference, let us know. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to some of our other. Did you want to go through some business first?
Yeah, we'll do some quick business here. We just want to remind you that we have a show again next week, live and local. Let me just pull off this thing here. So we'll be live next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, October the 20th. We're going to be talking about miscellaneous scanner tips. So we're going to cover an array of things like programming, some things that you should know. So if you're just entering into the hobby, this will be a great show for you. If you're a veteran of the hobby, you may learn something new, or you may be able to chime in as an audience member of something that we miss. So definitely tune in. No matter what your skill level is, it's going to be a great show. Miscellaneous scanner tips. And if you got a Roku, Apple TV, or the Kindle, the Amazon Fire Stick, you can download the YouTube app and watch us on the big screen. So definitely do that as well. We really love you watching wherever you are, whether you're watching on a tablet, your TV, or a computer. Tune in and join us each and every week. Train Aficionado Live will be the first Monday of the month, which is November the 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you check out their channel as well. Subscribe on YouTube, their social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And then also check out trainaficionado.com. And our sponsor of the show each and every week is our very own Scanner Master. For the past 40 plus years, they've been in business as the nation's most experienced dealer of all brands of new scanners, software, accessories, and programming. Shop them online or call the scanner experts at 1-800-722-6637. That number again is 1-800-722-6637. Open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Shop them 24/7 at scannermaster.com. Email them with your scanner questions at support@scannermaster.com. And check out their social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Scanner Master Co. So all good things there. Next week's show is going to be really good. Stick with us. We got another 15 minutes or so. So we'll cover up, we'll cover your questions, not cover them up, but cover them in the next 15 minutes. Here we go.
All righty, real quickly through some of the questions. Ira is in Detroit on his SDS 200 in search mode. It stops on a frequency. It displays color code and slot number, no voice, and scanner is completely silent. What does it indicate? Jonathan, you're supposed to answer these questions as I ask them.
What was it again? I was trying to take a drink. I just did all that talking.
SDS and it's stopping on a frequency. It displays the color code and the slot number, but there's no voice, and the scanner is completely silent.
He needs to do an upgrade for that digital format.
No, if he's getting the color code and slot number, he already has the DMR update in it.
It's
so
encrypted.
You're not going to get it without it. So it's either encrypted or you stopped on a control channel.
Yep. Sorry. I was.
Let's see here.
I just taking a breath, after.
Oh, come on, man. You got to get with the program here.
Yeah, you with your SPF.
20,000 SPF, yeah, I betcha. Chris asks if we have an SD card update for the SDS 100. Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So give us a call. We'll take care of you on that. Joe P asks, on a P25 Phase 2 system, do slots 1 or 2 mean anything? Yeah. The way P25 Phase 2 works is it breaks up the channel into little time slots. Slots 0 and 1. It's actually not 1 and 2. It's 0 and 1. And it breaks it up into a bunch of different chunks. And the even ones are zeros and the odd ones are ones. And those are the ones that are used. And it just slot 0 is basically the channel A, and slot 1 is channel B, so that you can have 2 conversations at the same time on the same frequency, sharing it. There are some systems like the old Nextel system that actually had 6 slots on there, and I think cellular does some of the older cellular formats did the same thing. They had more slots. P25 Phase 2 is just 2 conversations at the same time. You got the arrow, the 0, and the 1 slot. Let's see here. Bearable wishes that Whistler would come up with a firmware update, work anywhere. Okay, I'm not quite sure what the intention was on that, but Whistlers will do most of what the Uniteds will do, except for Pro Voice, and there's not many people using Pro Voice anymore. A couple questions were asked and answered. Any chance that Unit can come up with a frequency counter built into the scanner other than close call? And Joe Bearcat mentioned that there was one model that had a test mode built into it that had a kind of a frequency counter of sorts. Unfortunately, we just can't remember what that model was. John is, I think he's in New Jersey. He's got a P25 system. It's not simulcast, but he's got all the control channels. All he gets are noise on the control channels and about 3 bars. So you might have some signal or noise floor issues. So you might be in a really RF noisy environment there, John. Attic, it says he lives in Baltimore. Does he need DMR since all of his system is on P25? So if they're using P25 for police and fire, you probably don't need to get DMR unless you want to listen to shopping malls, hospital security, that kind of stuff. On the old scanners with the crystal running lights, there was a box that was attached with a dial. And what did that dial do? And it might have been a switch. So there were 2 devices that came out with some of those scanners. One of them was a preamp that you would hook onto the back antenna connection and hook your antenna to it, and it was a preamp. And it usually had either a switch to turn it on and off or a dial that you can turn the gain up and down. Very much like the M75 preamp that we sell now. And there was also a converter, frequency converter. So when frequencies channels in the 800 megahertz first came around, there weren't 800 meg scanners. So these were converter boxes that would add like 400 megahertz to the tuned frequency. So if you want to listen to 851.2125, you would program in 451.2125 and turn on the converter. It would add 400 megahertz to the frequency displayed. Robert asks how the 396T compares to the 125. The 396 does everything the 125 does, but it also handles P25 digital in phase 1 mode only. So it compares comparably, but the 125 is not going to do digital. Let's see here. Are the shortage of chips for cars and phones have any effect on the production of scanners? Yes, it does. It's increased the prices of most electronics, and we had some supply issues. We continue to have some supply issues. Right now, we just happen to be kind of flush with models, but we may not have a whole lot of some of the models. So if you're looking for a scanner, make sure, and it's in stock, make sure you get it pretty soon because it may not be in stock tomorrow. Let's see here. Is the 885, the Bear Tracker 885, any good as a scanner? Not really. It is it's a CB with the kind of a scanner feature built into it. As a scanner, it's kind of rough around the edges. You can't do any type of field programming or anything like that, but it does what it's supposed to do. Let's see here. Is there a difference between a model for North America and the European model? Yeah, a lot of the European models have different frequency ranges assigned to them. So there'll be, I think there's a different low band in some of the European countries, and there are certain restrictions in some countries in Europe as to what frequencies you're allowed to hear. Kind of like here in the U.S., you can't listen to cellular frequencies. In Europe, there are certain frequency ranges that are not allowed to be listened to there as well. And Joe mentioned that a lot of people get sites and towers confused. Great point, Joe Curtis. When we talk about sites, we are talking about the numbered sites in the P25 system. Site number 127 or 214 or something like that. Each site, if it's simulcast, can have 2 or more towers on it. And you're nice and relaxed there. So a P25 simulcast system can have multiple towers on it. A single site system will have 1 tower, but a simulcast may have 3 or 4 or 5. We are running through these kind of quick because we're running short on time. We got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Another common question that Ron hears is, if you unplug the scanner, are you going to lose the memory on your scanner? So if you take your 536 and unplug it, are you going to lose your memory? And the newer scanners, they don't have replaceable memory batteries. The memory in the scanner is it does have a memory battery or capacitor in the radio, but it lasts almost forever, and you aren't going to lose your memory for years and years and years and years. If it does, that means you have some sort of a hardware problem.
Hey, Rich Carlson, your other Rich Carlson has got a request for Joe Bearcat to be a guest on the show. Joe, well, he replied back. Let's look at that.
Yeah, we have an open invitation for Joe Bearcat, and he'll contact us when he's ready. So
we're looking forward to it because
Joe
Bearcat is a mystery.
It's we just don't know who he is.
Yeah,
so maybe we'll find out.
Paul, we knew because he did videos and all this. But Joe,
I sat down and had dinner with him a couple times. Yeah, it's he was a known guy. Joe's kind of a mystery right now. So.
And the cool thing, I mean, Joe, we're just we're so happy that you're here and you're able to contribute. And then, of course, remind our audience that the 125 AT is not on the chopping block as of yet. We do really appreciate, you being here to be able to answer some of those questions that only Uniden can really answer.
Yeah. And it's great that there is still a representative for Uniden available, and I know he's been working really hard at doing a lot of different things. So we give him some grief, but yeah, we do hope to have Joe on, and whenever he's ready, we'll have you. So
Maybe we should have the other Rich Carlson on,
yeah,
and then we'll have two Rich.
Yeah, I don't know if we can stand two Rich Carlsons at the same time. Yeah. But I'm not quite as he's not quite as ugly as I am, so you know, so that might not be a bad thing. He can if I'm on vacation or something, he can be my guest. He can be our guest host.
Oh yeah, Evan was asking about my box. Yes, so basically, we did a shack build video, which I showed this all apart. So basically, what I've done is I want to say this is a 9 and whatever the hell it is. It's not 10 inches, you know, because lumber they do that odd measurement. So basically, I got one piece of wood, cut it to the dimensions that it needs for these faceplates, which you can get through Scanner Master. Yep. And then basically they're DIN sleeved in each one of these. So it just slides right in. And then of course I got the key to be able to pop these out if I had to. But yeah, it's a super simple thing. I got paint. I got these. Super easy. It looks clean, looks nice, keeps the radios here.
And it was cheap.
It was cheap, yeah. I mean, even the paint. I got this gray paint. A lot of times with Lowe's or Home Depot, somebody will get a little can or a larger can of paint mixed, and then they say, "Well, I don't like the color." So then what ends up happening is the clerk that's working in the paint department will put a different tint in that paint to make it a different color. Because what ends up happening, what they found, is what they'll do is they'll mix the paint, and then if they go and sell it, somebody will come and buy the paint at markdown price. So this way, you know, they change the tint so that person doesn't come back and buy, you know,
buy it again,
what they actually wanted.
Yeah. And yeah, I saw that video, and I saw the pictures of you building that, and it's a great thing. And it actually, I like it better than my case that I bought. It looked great. So
we totally understand, Joe. You know, in between everything that's going on, and you know, like as with every other company, supply chains and everything have been just a complete disaster. You know, just COVID and so on. But yeah, whenever you're ready, you know, we've got a space for you right on the screen. So whenever you're ready,
and we do like giving them a hard time. So
the video is one of our. It's on our YouTube channel. It's one of our shack videos. I think I've showed it a couple of times, the images. It's a part of the slideshow. You know, we even looked at Rich's mobile shack on that show. I don't remember which one it is. It's one of the shack videos. Yeah. We looked at, you know, you used, what is it called? In the vehicle, those brackets. I can't, you know what, the Rector set?
Mending bars.
Mending bars, yes.
Yeah. And that actually worked really well. I just took a mending bar, the 1.5-inch wide mending bar, and I bent it into kind of a U shape, and then you know, mounted the radios on that, got that all painted, mounted that onto a board, and it fits right into that pocket. So yeah, that worked out really, really well. And then mine are racks are made by Audio Racks, and I'm using the Scanner Master DIN sleeves like you have on there, and that works out really well. Dale wrote that there was also a speech inversion descrambler box with a knob for some of these old scanners. So very few people are using speech inversion scrambling anymore, but there, you know, you can hear that sound like Mickey Mouse type of stuff. I actually know a guy who could listen to that and decode it, and you know, and understand what they were saying on that
by ear, which is crazy.
By ear. This guy has perfect pitch. He can listen to a radio channel and tell you what PL tone is being transmitted, and he was never wrong.
That's crazy.
Question about the Pan Am symbol in back of me on the wall. So that is actually from the airline. The Pan Am Airways, may they rest in peace when they get merged into CSX pretty soon. They actually bought the trademark, so they use the same symbols and stuff. They bought the trademark from the intellectual property company that owned it after Pan Am Airlines went out of business. So Pan Am Airways are actually no company relation to Pan Am Airways. They just bought the trademarks. So it's like the new Circuit City or the new CompUSA. It has nothing to do with the old company. It just somebody went out and bought the trademarks. And then the FAA up there, that is where my wife used to work. And then next one over is the O'Hare Airport Watch. And that was a group I was very involved with back when I lived in the Chicago area. And we had a lot of great times working around the airport. It was a good time. So let's see here. I think we got pretty much through most of the questions here, my friend.
Yeah, it looks like we had a lot of great questions. In the slideshow, we had a lot of great questions, in the live comments. We love being able to interact with you guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're over 3,000. We want to make it eventually to 4,000. And we can't mention enough, Scanner Master is our sponsor each and every week. Down on the description is a link which, if you purchase anything from Scanner Master, will help us a little bit. It's an affiliate link which will help us to keep the lights on and keep the show running. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming up in the fall here. We're going to be talking about miscellaneous scanner tips, things that we're not able to dedicate to a whole show. So we'll do this next week. It'll be Wednesday, October the 20th, 2021. And Train Aficionado Live. Make sure you hit the subscribe button there as well at Train Aficionado on YouTube. Monday, November the 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to all their social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Train Aficionado. Also, check out the website, trainaficionado.com. I'm hoping to do more blog entries relatively soon. I'm in a different location, so there'll be some cool stuff coming up down the pike for Train Aficionado. And make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to our social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube on those social media platforms at The Scanner Guys. And check out our website, thescannerguyshow.com. thescannerguyshow.com is the website, and you can buy hats, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and all that business on our website, and subscribe to our newsletter as well. And I think there's a few questions that came rolling in towards the end, so let's address this one. If you guys could each pick one scanner, what would it be?
SDS 100. It's the one scanner that does just about everything.
Yeah. That's a good question.
So many questions, yeah. So many choices.
Yeah, if I use my base radio more than my portable, but
yeah,
if I only had to pick one, it would be the SDS 100, just because of having the portability of it. Just because it's able to do, like you said, Rich, it's able to do everything.
Yeah.
What else?
We were talking earlier about the thing where they're for the Universal Translator.
Mm-hmm.
That came from a Star Trek DS9 episode called Little Green Men, where they go back in time to the 1940s U.S. Roswell. They're the Roswell aliens, and they couldn't understand the humans until they adjusted their Universal Translator.
Let me just see. Is there any other ham radio?
One of the very few shows that I actually know anything about.
Joe, I eventually have to get my ham radio license. I haven't. Yes. I just had a lot going on in my life in the last several months. So hopefully hopefully I'll be able to get some time to do that. I got a lot of catching up with blog entries and things for Train Aficionado and getting back in the swing of things for you guys for the Scanner Guys show. A lot of you are going to be spending a little bit more time inside. So some of you may be watching us live on Wednesday nights or watching us in the replays. We appreciate no matter where you're watching or when you're watching. But yeah, I mean, we're probably due for another SDS 100 and 200 show. Maybe we'll do that later in the fall. People love when we talk about those radios. And
our viewership levels go way up there.
Way up, yeah. So I'm just trying to think of, is there any other questions that popped in?
Let's see here. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm sorry. So I'm guessing that Ron is talking about his SDS 200. So the SDS 200 actually has a network port on the front of it, so you can use that. And ProScan does support accessing it through the LAN. I don't think that you can do that with Butel's ARC 536 yet. So I'm sure he's working on that, though. There's a lot of questions about this. Oh, that was that kit, that car show.
The Knight Rider, is that right?
Knight Rider, is that what it was? Yeah.
I think I was seeing the comments rolling through about, people were talking about Knight Rider. I think that's...
When I was in college, the big thing for the kids were to have a Trans Am or
Knight Rider,
Z28, whatever kind of car that was, and put those lights on the hood scoop, the fake hood scoop.
Yeah, I'm just seeing. I'm just rolling back some of the questions. That's a wooden box that's behind me. It's just I don't remember. It's probably pine.
And dimensional lumber from Home Depot or Lowe's or something. So I think the stuff that you get from Audio Racks is either plywood or OSB. It's probably OSB. With a finish on it. So
another great show. I guess our mom is going to allow us to stay up a little bit later tonight. Which is better, the 436 or the SDS 100? Well, it depends. Like if you're in an area where there's no simulcast, then the 436 is fine. If you're in an area where there's simulcast, the SDS 100 is the go-to. Mm-hmm. So it really depends. I mean, both radios are great. They're workhorses. They work really well. They do have their place. But yeah, I mean, all in all, simulcast is going to be the thing. It's going to be the SDS 100.
Yeah. And, the 436 and the SDS 100, they operate very much the same software. In fact, you can even swap the cards back and forth. But yeah, if you had the extra money, I would go with the SDS 100 for the display, even if you don't have simulcast.
Yeah, that's for sure. I guess that's about it. Is there anything else?
I think we can call that on a show.
All right. So join us next week. We will be live here Wednesday night talking about miscellaneous scanner stuff. We're going to cover programming, going to cover things that don't really fit into an hour-long discussion, but they're in small little chunks. So we're going to do that next week. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully everybody had a great time on the show. Rich, I'm not going to pull up the slide again, but we are looking for a couple of different emails from you guys. If you've got some home-brewed antennas, we would love to see photos of those, because people are wanting to see some homebrew antennas. Send us, photos of it and tell us a little bit about the homebrew antenna. The other thing, too, is we love doing the shack photos show. We want to do another one of those, but we need to get a good number of those. So if you already sent in your photos, you don't have to send them in again. Just we want new people to send in their photos so we can look at different shacks. It's not a competition or anything. It's just, we want to see different shacks. And I think it's really cool to be able to see, shacks, whether it be couple scanners or old slew of scanners. We love seeing, big or small. We want to see them all.
That's right. There you go. Hey, and you're a poet and you didn't even know it, right? Question came up, asked if I had fans on the scanners in the case, and I assume on yours as well. And
No,
they don't generate that much heat. So
I think with that, we're going to wrap things up. I'm Jonathan Higgins.
And I'm Rich Carlson.
And we're the Scanner Guys. We'll catch you again next week right here on the Scanner Guys show. Have a great night.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.